Hi, I'm Zee from Queen Zee, and you're watching Total Entertainment. Yes, very excited, very nervous, but also it's been kind of so long in the works. I think we also just kind of want it out now. You know, it's months and months of just waiting to release it, so once it's done, I can't wait to just kind of crack on. We've never been a band that's really wanted to stick to like traditional formats. We never got together and were like, we want to do a record or we want to do this or that. So we were just writing music kind of freely, and it was only when, you know, fans started to go, when's the album out, that we thought, oh right, yeah, bands do albums and we should probably do one of those. So we've kind of put everything that we've got together with some new tunes, and it's all been remastered and remixed and stuff. So it was just us not knowing that we should release an album, if I'm completely honest. It's a big claim, that, isn't it? I always feel kind of bizarre when we're referred to as a guitar band. I always think that when we're not a guitar band, and to me, just because you use guitars and just because, you know, you have a drum and you plug in and use a distortion pedal doesn't necessarily mean how you're approaching music is like, oh, we want to be like Led Zeppelin or Black Sabbath, or, you know, and kind of looking backwards. We've always just seen ourselves as like a band, and it just so happens that the easiest way for us to capture that energy was through punk and through kind of loud music. So I think people will probably be bitterly disappointed when the guitars go. Well, Iggy actually played us again on his radio show last night, and called us a Liverpudlian foot, which I'm not sure what that means, but I was very honoured that Iggy Pop even just knows we exist. He emailed my email the other day and asked for the record, so we're going to send him a vinyl. But the fact that Iggy Pop, who's one of my like ultimate icons, who I grew up being obsessed with the Stooges, and I had Funhouse, like a 12-inch Funhouse, and I used to just play it to death. The fact that he likes Queen Zee absolutely blows my mind. It's a massive. No, and I think those bands that let it change the dynamic and they kind of get a bit up themselves because they've done a few decent shows, and, you know, they've had a few decent people say that they think they're good. I think that's when you start to see a kind of decline in the art. You know, you've always just got to focus on what you're doing and why you're doing it, and we're trying to capture something ourselves, and I don't care if everyone loves it or everyone hates it. It's got to be almost tunnel vision when you're creating it.
I mean, what was there?
We're still disappointed, you know, and I think all artists are. You know, you turn up at these great shows in front of 1,000 people when you've gone from playing from 10 to 1,000 within a year, and you still think, okay, we could have played better. You know, we could have done more. So I think the moment where we sit back and go, oh wow, this is really great, I think it's the moment where you kind of, the foot comes off the accelerator a little bit and you slow down, which is something I never want to do. So yeah.
Okay, I mean,
we wanted to do it our way, and so many bands don't get that privilege these days. You know, we were so lucky that we had a fan base that was dedicated enough, and, you know, we had the people around us who could help us, and were able to create our art in our way. So the fact we could release it ourselves and do it how we want to do it just felt right for this debut. So it just sets us up in the future if we do work with a label or we do work with someone else. We have that foundation to move forward. Our first gig was chaos. So I was putting Queen Zee and the Sasstones, which was the original band name, down on posters, and then not playing the shows. I was running punk gigs, and it was this imaginary band that I was just having a joke with. And I had some demos left over from a previous band, and I decided to put them online under the name Queen Zee. And Jay, who was playing in this kind of black metal group at the time, messaged me and said they were awful and he hated them and I should stop. And then the following message was, actually, do you want to play that gig you've got coming up as Queen Zee? So I was like, okay, but it was in 2 days, so we didn't practice, we didn't learn the songs. Jay said he knew them from playing at home, and I played at home, and then our drummer dropped out on the day, so our bassist decided, okay, I'll play drums, you two just play guitar. So we got on stage and we realised no one knew any of the songs. So then we just smashed up all the gear. Jay started doing like a breakbeat, and I started screaming, I'm a fire starter, Twisted Fire Starter. for about 10 minutes, and then I cut myself in the face and walked off. And that was the first show. It's weird, you know, Liverpool's such a kind of microcosm where there's so much interesting and alternative stuff going on all the time. If you dig beneath the surface, you know, there's a great metal scene and there's, you know, there's amazing alternative stuff happening. You know, Dead or Alive from here, Frankie Goes from Hollywood here. But then at the same time, you're right, there is like a mainstream culture of, you know, Concert Square and so on that is so separate from that. So it's almost as if I feel as the Eric scene and that kind of the old school punks and even the new punks and, you know, anti-pop and so on, I've really embraced Queen Zee and really gone, oh, this is brilliant, we love this. And yet the mainstream kind of queer scene, that's all, you know, the gay town and gay clubs, and then the mainstream scene is still catching on to that. And right. I think that's probably the same everywhere. Someone told us to get off the effing stage because we are effing faggots. I don't know if I can say that, or you let it out, but that was fun. We did a tour that was called the Brexit Healing Tour or something, and it was with a bunch of other bands, and we went and played in these tiny towns that had basically voted for Brexit. And when we did it, we were like, this will be really good, we can put our ideas onto a different audience. You know, that's everything that I kind of believe in with Queen Zee, taking what, you know, the queer politics that we've kind of grown up with and we hold dear and putting them in front of the mainstream. So we're like, this is a really good idea. And then the reality of turning up to them, and there's 15 people who had no idea what they were getting in for, and you're screaming at them about stuff that they do not believe in. It was just a horrible tour. It's just, you know, it's just a very sad month of my life. So all of those were pretty hostile. In terms of other bands, no, like I love music, I love art, you know, so we can just kind of find the kind of positive in everything. You know, we've played with death metal bands and we're waiting to go on and we're looking at the audience coming in and they're super heavy and we're like, oh no, this is not going to go down well and we're going to get spat at and stuff. And then people see that, you know, we're about fun. We try to create like we have an energy to us, even though it can be a bit poppy and queer and so on. Metalheads love it. And then we've gone on the same stage as Mel C and been like, oh no, these 13-year-old girls are not gonna like what we're gonna do now, and they've liked it and enjoyed it. So I'm just glad that we can have that kind of crossover. Yeah, I mean, I'd go on tour with any band, even if it was right now, because I believe in people who go and see that band. They're obviously okay with it. You know, they're okay with the politics, they're fine with it, they've either separated the art from the artist or they don't care in the first place. And you should reach those people. You know, we live in such a bubble at the moment. Someone on Facebook says something that you don't believe in, you delete them. You're just constantly surrounded by your own political views, your own opinions all the time. So then when something happens like Brexit or Trump gets voted in or the Tories win an election and everyone goes, oh, I had no idea, do you know what I mean? Or everyone around me, you know, I don't know any voters like that. Well, it's because we've isolated ourselves and we've created these pockets in which we can exist, and social media lets us do that, particularly with bands, particularly with scenes. I watch like anarchist punk bands go on stage to the same anarchist punk crowd who are already all anarchists, and you haven't spread the idea at all. So if we got asked to play Donald Trump's inauguration, I would have done it because I want to play to Trump fans, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I want to play to people who don't like me and don't agree with what I have to say, because I want to show them that we're human and you know, we have a value to us. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I would always say that the mainstream is constantly changing, you know, and stuff that's in the mainstream now has been vocal at times, and you know, we saw a band like Idols last year get a number 3 record with, you know, songs on it that are incredibly, you know, political and ethically focused. So I do think, yeah, there's a moment now where bands are going to see through, because I think there's a frustration and there's a counterculture kind of happening to just the insane political climate we live in. But at the same time, there is an element to the mainstream where they just want a ringtone. You know, they don't necessarily want a political anthem forced on them. So I almost think the revolution will actually be subconscious, and it will be like, oh, this is a catchy tune, oh wait, it's about this, rather than the punk idea of let's absolutely force this down people's throats.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a subconscious revolution.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to fit in with punk crowds and metal crowds. I think there's definitely a vibe there within the punk scene that's still quite far right at times, and there's definitely a very kind of punk should be punk mentality to a lot of people. And you turn up and you've got an ABBA t-shirt on and they're like, I'm not interested in this.
Right.
So whereas I think the mainstream, because they've been exposed to stuff, artists like Years and Years and Alexander at the moment, and they've been exposed to RuPaul's Drag Race and so on, and that's starting to seep in. I think the mainstream is probably moving faster towards there than scenes that are very set on bands that I would say are quite closeted.
Yeah, I mean, would you see yourself going forward, moving more away from the kind of closeted scenes into a more accepting mainstream?
I would play with anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like I love so much different music that I find it really hard to be like, we're a punk band and we're only going to play punk shows. We're playing Rebellion this year, punk festival, and I can't wait.
Blackpool.
Yeah, and Descendants are playing, and I love them. And as a kid, and Dwarves are playing, and I love them. And I've never seen the Stranglers, and it's something I feel really bad about that they're playing. So, do you know what I mean? And I'm really excited about seeing all these punk bands. But then also, we played Bingley Live last year, and Mel C was on, and we all went and got in the front row before Mel C came on. So I really just think that we're just going to keep creating kind of in as much of a tunnel vision way as we can, just to keep it fresh. Because I think if we start to give too much mind into, okay, this is what we want to do with this record, or this is what we want to do, it starts to become a bit forced and a little bit unnatural. We're naturally quite loud, we're naturally quite an aggressive band. So even if we start to use more electronics, or it gets slightly poppier, or the songwriting changes, I don't think we'd ever lose that energy.